Cadillac Cien. In 2002, Cadillac celebrated its 100th anniversary with a car that looked nothing like the luxury sedans people normally associated with the brand. It was called the CN, and it was a low, mid-engine supercar built as a technology and design concept. The name came from the Spanish word for 100, while the design took inspiration from the F-22 Raptor fighter aircraft. Behind the driver sat a huge 7.5-liter V12 producing 750 horsepower. The engine had another unusual feature. It could deactivate half of its cylinders during lighter driving, reducing fuel use when the full 12 cylinders were not needed. Cadillac was not preparing the CN for normal customers. It was showing what the brand could build if it pushed its design and engineering much further than its regular cars. The concept never entered production, but it did get a second life away from the auto show. The CN appeared in the 2005 film The Island, where its futuristic shape made it a natural fit for the movie. For Cadillac, the CN was a statement about what was possible. It never became the company's production supercar, but it showed that Cadillac was capable of imagining one. Lamborghini Miura concept. In 1966, Lamborghini introduced the Miura, a car that became one of the most important designs in the history of the company. 40 years later, Lamborghini decided to bring that shape back for one more look at what a modern Miura could have been. The result was the Miura concept, designed by Walter de Silva and shown in 2006. From the outside, it clearly came from the original Miura, with the same low body, long nose, and simple lines. Underneath, however, it used the structural platform and V12 layout of the modern Lamborghini Murcielago. Lamborghini had taken the appearance of one of its most famous cars and connected it to the mechanical world of its modern supercar. People liked it immediately, and the car even attracted attention from collectors and Miura owners. But Lamborghini never intended to put the concept into production. The company treated it as a celebration of the original Miura rather than a return of the name. Only one was built, as a modern tribute to a car that had already earned its place in history. The interesting part is that it was never a failed production project. It was a production car that Lamborghini simply chose not to build. Mercedes-Benz F200 Imagination. In 1996, Mercedes-Benz showed a car that looked like it had arrived from a much later decade. The F200 Imagination had no steering wheel and no normal pedals. Instead, it used electronic side sticks. The driver could use one to control steering, acceleration, and braking. The concept also used cameras instead of conventional exterior mirrors and featured a large glass roof. Mercedes was using the F200 to explore how electronic controls, safety systems, visibility, and interior design might change future cars. This was not just a collection of ideas on paper. Mercedes later tested the side-stick technology in a modified SL Roadster, giving engineers a chance to see how the unusual controls worked in a real driving environment. Some of the F200's ideas became much more familiar later. The F200 asked people to learn a completely different way of controlling a car, and that made the idea much harder to bring into an ordinary production vehicle. Mercedes never did. The F200 remained an experiment. But it is still a useful look at how much the company was willing to change when it imagined the future of driving. Saab Aero-X. Saab had a long connection with aircraft design, and the Aero-X made that connection impossible to miss. When the concept appeared in 2006, its entire upper section opened upward and forward like an aircraft canopy. Saab used the design to create a clean two-seat cabin without conventional doors, and said it gave the driver a 180-degree field of vision. Underneath was a 2.8-liter twin-turbo V6 producing 400 horsepower. The engine could run on E100 bioethanol, and the car used all-wheel drive. But the Aero-X was about more than its specifications. Saab presented it as a look at where the brand's design could go in the future. The aircraft influence was obvious. But the company also used the concept to explore a different kind of interior, different controls, and a much more dramatic sports car shape. The problem was that Saab's future became increasingly uncertain. The company was still part of General Motors when the Aero-X appeared, and Saab later entered bankruptcy in 2011. Automobile production eventually ended, meaning the company never had the chance to turn the Aero-X's design direction into a production car. That gives the Aero-X a different place in this list. It was not simply a concept that Saab decided was too expensive or too strange. It represented a future for a company that eventually disappeared. Saleen S5S Raptor. By 2008, Saleen had already established itself with the S7, so the company had a real American supercar to build on. Then came the S5S Raptor, a concept that was supposed to show what the next Saleen could become. The Raptor used a planned 5-liter supercharged V8 producing 650 horsepower. Saleen said it could reach 60 miles per hour in about 3.2 seconds. While the engine was designed to run on ethanol, the company also wanted the Raptor to cost much less than many exotic supercars. Contemporary reports placed the expected price below $200K, and Saleen talked about production within roughly 2 years. The problem was the timing. The Raptor appeared in 2008, just as the global financial crisis was beginning to hit the automotive industry. Saleen was also dealing with serious problems of its own. Steve Saleen had left the company in 2007, and the business continued to struggle financially. The Raptor never reached production. That left the prototype as a reminder of what Saleen had planned: an American mid-engine supercar with serious power. The idea was there. The performance targets were there. What Saleen never got was the opportunity to turn the concept into a production car. Toyota Alessandro Volta. In 2004, Toyota showed a hybrid that looked almost completely disconnected from the image people had of hybrid cars at the time. The Alessandro Volta was created with Italian design company Idle Design and named after Alessandro Volta, the physicist associated with the development of the battery. Under its body was a 3.3-liter V6, working with 2 electric motors, one for each axle. Together, the system produced around 402 horsepower, while the electric motors gave the car all-wheel drive. The Volta also had a carbon fiber chassis and 3 seats, with the driver sitting in the center. Instead of using electrification mainly to reduce fuel consumption, Toyota and Idle Design were showing how electric motors could also be used to improve performance. The Volta remained a concept and never became a production model. That does not make it unimportant, though. It showed a different way of thinking about hybrid technology at a time when most people still saw hybrids mainly as efficient commuter cars. The company never built it for customers, but the concept showed how far Toyota was willing to take the technology. Mazda RX-Vision. For Mazda, the rotary engine was more than just another engine. It became one of the things that made the company different. When the RX-8 ended production in 2012, Mazda no longer had a rotary-powered sports car. Then, in 2015, the company showed the RX-Vision at the Tokyo Motor Show. Long hood, low body, wide stance, and a small cabin pushed toward the rear. The important part was under the body. Mazda designed the RX-Vision around its next-generation Skyactiv R rotary engine. The company did not announce production specifications, but the message was clear that Mazda was still developing a rotary engine for a future sports car. The RX-Vision was never announced as a production model. It was a vision of what Mazda wanted its next sports car to become. That did not stop people from getting excited about it. And in 2016, the RX-Vision won the Most Beautiful Concept Car of the Year award at the Festival Automobile International in Paris. But the car never reached production. The RX-Vision remained exactly what its name suggested: a vision of a new rotary sports car that Mazda showed to the world, but never put into its showrooms. And that is what makes it so interesting. It looked like Mazda was finally bringing the rotary sports car back. But this time, the concept stayed a concept.